Hey, I'm Lotti Pharriss Knowles, and I'm the writer and producer of Chastity Bites.
And I'm John Knowles. I'm the director of Chastity Bites.
And I'm Louise Griffiths, and I play Liz in Chastity Bites.
Sex is a sacred act. Right now, two people may love each other and have all sorts of other feelings, but it just isn't right if those two people aren't joined in the holy sacrament of marriage. I mean, sex without that sanctified bond may lead the fornicators to be punished by having retarded bastard babies or burning in the eternal fires of damnation. You don't want that, do you, George?
No.
The only truly safe sex is no sex. I mean, my willpower is the only thing standing between us and the gates of hell.
Chastity Bites takes the real life historical legend of Elizabeth Bathory, or the Blood Countess, who was a serial killer, and she killed over 600 women back in the 1600s, thinking that if she bathed in their blood, that it would be like Botox and she'd stay young and beautiful forever. And we place her now in conservative red state America, still alive, doing her unholy rituals as an abstinence educator, traveling around and finding her virgins that way. My inspiration was first of all being a huge horror nerd. Like, I've seen so many horror movies since I was way too young to be doing so, and a lot of them were Elizabeth Bathory movies, like Countess Dracula from Hammer or Daughters of Darkness, and there's so many others. And I somehow came up with the idea during the George W. Bush administration, when a lot of the crazy conservative stuff was going on, and so somehow it just kind of felt like this weird mashup, but that would be a fun experiment to try. So that's how it came about.
I auditioned. It was just a sort of a regular audition for me, and I'd read the script and fell in love with it immediately because it's hilarious. I read so many, and so it's amazing when you actually get to read a script and you're laughing out loud over and over again, and you're like, oh yeah, let me at it, let me have a go. So I loved the script, and the character for me was just, she's awesome. In a very evil way, but awesome to play. A lot of fun.
We're still a low-budget independent feature. Although, if you were to look at the film, I don't think you can tell. I think we did a great job kind of maximizing everything we had to work with, including a great cast who really were phenomenal to work with and really elevated all the material. It was again, everything you fight with on a short deadline, and a project where you don't have a lot of resources, you would say, like that you would have on a Hollywood movie. So there was never enough time to do multiple takes. There was we're always fighting against the clock and the sun going down and all of those things, and just the typical stuff that we had to fight against with to get this thing made. And plus, it's a horror movie, so right away you've got the added stress of, like, okay, if this blood gag goes incredibly wrong, it's going to take 3 hours to fix it, and I don't think I have the time. I wanted to make a horror movie. I love them, just like Lottie loves them, although she loves them a lot more than I do. And you think it's going to be fun when you're shooting a horror movie, like, oh yeah, there's going to be blood and guts flying everywhere. It's going to be so fun. And then you actually have to shoot that stuff, and you realize how painful it is to set those things up, and then to what happens when they don't quite go right and you want to do a take two. It's not like go again right away. It's like, and the girls are all wearing white. It's like they have to have multiple changes of clothing, and all this stuff has to get wiped off, and it won't come off, and then you're covering it with makeup, and meanwhile, everyone's like, yeah, we're gonna go home in 5 minutes, so it was challenging but fun. Yeah, they are a lot of fun, and that's interesting that a lot of people's firsts are horror movies. I think because you can get away with a lot in a horror movie, and just in terms of tone, if you can make it really goofy and still have a lot of fun with it. You can make it really serious. A lot of what takes place with a horror movie happens in the audience's minds. You don't have to have things on screen. There's a lot of psychological things you can do with the film to put the horror in the minds of the audience. So you don't have to have everything up on screen. And it's relatively inexpensive to do. So it's a fun trick to do that way versus something like science fiction, which is inherently expensive. You have to put a lot of money up on the screen to make that really work and to make that fly. And also I think a lot of first films are probably comedies too. And so we kind of had the best of both worlds with a horror comedy. So it was fun.
And she killed almost 600 women, young girls, and I love history, so I just, as soon as I found out about it, I was like, wow, it's amazing. And the fact that they left her alone, pretty much, as long as she was only killing peasants. And then she crossed the line and she killed a noble's daughter, and that's how she came unstuck. But it's just, it's so interesting to me that that actually went on in Europe. Not that long ago. No. I mean, it's, so it's, it's really interesting. I love things that are based in history, and you can really do a lot of research and get a really good basis for your character. That's a good question. It's difficult because you're the villain, but you don't want to tip your hat too much, and you don't want to give too much to the audience. You're not twirling your moustache, but then you can't be too subtle that things are getting missed. So it's a fine line. But for me, I just liked the fact that she was hundreds of years old and therefore has all the time in the world. So she can just take her sweet time. And she's, smart beyond belief, and she's seen a lot. So everybody else in the movie is pretty much an idiot to her. And she could and so she's just thinking all the time. And she may be saying one thing, but she's certainly thinking something completely different.
How much of that character can you relate to?
Oh, all of it. Actually, I nearly didn't get the role, did I?
Well, let me say that Louise she's so brilliant in this. Like, I'm so, honestly, everything she said, it's amazing. Like, because I wanted sort of a quality of a little bit of like the Hammer film villainesses, but also a little bit of like Chris Sarandon in Fright Night, if that makes sense. But she was so nice when we met her that we thought, oh, there's no way she could pull off being that evil. She had the beauty. But then we noticed that she was starting to really get into it. So maybe it's not that far, actually, off from...
Yeah, a couple of days in,
Yeah.
the minute drops and I'm ordering people around on the set. I like my water room temperature, please, by the way. Yeah. And can you believe they didn't have a tea kettle on set? And one of the PAs.
We'll never live it down.
One of the I'm English. We drink a lot of tea. That is not a myth. And one of the PAs told me that I should go into the bathroom and run the hot tap. Horrified.
Let me say we did correct that situation once we heard that she was being encouraged to run hot tap water over a tea bag. We corrected that. Didn't we? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
No, but seriously, Louise is brilliant. And, it just, we love her in this. And we hope that, our dream, of course, would be that she becomes an iconic horror villain, that will live among the ranks of, like, Ingrid Pitt from Countess Dracula and Chris Sarandon from Fright Night and, all the others. So... The script did change a lot because this has been a 9-year journey since I wrote the first draft, where it was like first trying to get other people to make it. And then as I was building my producing experience and John was building his directing experience, finally deciding that we wanted to make it ourselves. And then from then even on, trying to raise the money. And then, of course, the cast comes along. So I think that, some of it was just honing it and trying to make it better every time I would revisit it over those years. But also, there are a lot of, like, political and pop culture references, so those would continue to be updated. And then, of course, there were little tweaks made, once we had the cast come in. But really and truly, I sort of felt like we got really lucky in the casting process, and huge props to Monica Mickelson and Matthew LaSalle, our casting directors, who are amazing. And we found people who were so much what I had been hoping for and dreaming of for all those years leading up to this, that there wasn't a lot of room we had to travel. I mean, because certainly there's no money for rehearsals, really. We had like a table read, and then, on set, there would be a little bit of time to talk about stuff. But really, and we were shooting on Super 16 film, so we didn't have a lot of takes to do. So we made sure we cast people who kind of knew what we wanted, or they intuitively knew what we wanted from Jump Street, basically.
Yeah, I'd always wanted to shoot on film. And with at the time we shot it, that format was already kind of on its way out, and I was like, we have to do this now. This may not even be around in a year, which turned out to be true. So and it did come down to a last minute decision. We were bidding them against each other. We did get fortunate. We won a first time filmmakers grant from Panavision, which gives you access to a camera and lenses and all the equipment that you need for a really, really low price. Thank you, Panavision. Ding. But in the back of our minds, we were always thinking we wanted that kind of gritty 70s look. We wanted that kind of Hammer horror film look. They were very grainy, very dark, and we just right off the bat we wanted to shoot it with that kind of quality in mind. And I love watching it, even though you always do a lot of digital cleanup and you put it through a big post process. There's still tiny scratches and things like in there that give it kind of a grindhouse feel that I think is really actually fun. Well, first of all, we have an amazing poster that we had designed by an artist named Nathan Milner, who yes, that's it right there. So and he's an amazing illustrator. Some of you may already have seen his work. He and this is, yeah, we're gonna hold it right up right now. He's done a lot of horror illustration in the past, and getting him was a huge coup to do our poster. It's really cool. It's already gotten a lot of attention on the internet. And then at the festival itself, we in addition to having our trailer up and having the poster in the lobby, we have this gag with condoms. We decided it would be a fun piece of swag because the whole movie is just about, it's turning the horror convention on its head. Virgins are usually the people who live till the end of horror movies because that's the trope. And we've kind of flipped it. Obviously, with a blood countess who needs virgin blood, they're in a lot of danger, and not all of them make it. Let's just put it that way. So it actually is a plot point in the film. If you have sex, at the very least, you have a chance at making it to the end of the movie. So that was why we came up with the idea of condoms. So we have little stickered condoms that we've been handing out to people, which has been really funny. Yeah.
Basically, it's like a beer commercial, and at the end it's just screw responsibly.
Exactly, screw responsibly. Absolutely. Boy, I mean, if we're not going to get in enough trouble with the ribbing we do of conservatives in this movie, I don't know, but it would be great PR if we got on the radar of some family values coalition actually and got picketed. That's kind of my dream. It's someplace to be. Exactly. Like, please picket us, somebody. Focus on the Family. Do you hear me? Does anyone from Focus on the Family watch FilmSnobbery? Please come picket. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And target Lotti, not me.
Exactly. It's right. Hey, no, all PR is good PR, man. So especially for a little movie like ours. So, but also, just being low budget, independent. We of course we have a fantastic publicist named Louise Griffiths, who's an indie guy, but we also, we do a lot of it ourselves. It's like everything. We do everything ourselves as much as we can. And so we've got a Facebook page, we've got a Twitter, we've got a Tumblr, and we try to communicate directly with potential fans because that's kind of the way of the world now. And it's such a great thing, when you're not a studio movie, to have the internet to actually be able to reach out to people and talk to people on Twitter, people who are interested in the same kind of stuff you are, and be like, hey, we're doing this, follow along, and also then just have conversations about, stuff we're all interested in, mainly horror, but politics too. So that's kind of, a lot of it's just grassroots, fun stuff like that we do.